Creatine versus beta alanine. You've probably seen both on supplement labels or maybe in a pre-workout that made your face tingle in your heart race. Do they actually help with performance, or is it just clever marketing? Today, we're going to break down the research on two of the most talked about supplements for performance so you can figure out if one of these deserves a spot in your routine. Let's dive in. What is creatine? You've heard me talk about this a lot. People think that I work for Big Creatine, so you already know that this one isn't a gimmick, but creatine is one of the most well-researched sports supplements out there. It helps your body regenerate ATP, which is basically the fuel that you burn during short bursts. Think things like sprints, heavy lifts, anything explosive and powerful. It's that phosphagen system, it's that creatine system that you use right away. So basically, instead of hitting a wall after a couple reps or a couple shifts, your muscles can recover faster between efforts because you can regenerate that ATP because you have creatine phosphate there to support that. Ultimately, that means more volume, more output, usually better performance in power-based training or sports. Dosing-wise with creatine, we've talked about this, but most people start with a loading phase around 20 grams per day, split into a few doses for about a week, and then they move to a maintenance dose, which is your 3 to 5 grams per day. Loading isn't mandatory. You can just start with 3 grams a day, 3 to 5 grams a day, and it'll just take a few weeks longer to fully saturate your muscles, but there's no difference in outcomes. Some people do worry about weight gain, and yeah, you might see a bump, usually 1 to 2 kilos. It's mostly water stored inside your muscles, not subcutaneous fat. And because it's water stored in your muscle, it can actually help with things like temperature regulation and hydration during your training. So bottom line, if you're doing short, repeated efforts, sprints, lifts, intervals, creatine is a solid option. It works, it's safe, and it's dirt cheap compared to most sports supplements out there. So what is beta alanine? So beta alanine is a little different. Instead of helping you recover faster between bursts, it helps you last longer during sustained high intensity efforts. So think about a hard 400-meter sprint or a grinding circuit session where your muscles are burning and your form is starting to fall apart. How does it help with this? It increases carnosine levels in your muscles. So beta alanine will bind to histidine, make a carnosine. That's kind of the biochemistry nerdy stuff there. The ultimate point here is it helps buffer acid buildup. So this is one of the proposed mechanisms for why your legs feel like concrete halfway through a shift in the third period of a hockey game. So beta alanine can delay fatigue a bit. The catch, though, is that it takes time. You need to dose around 3.2 to 6.4 grams every day for at least 8 to 12 weeks to really build up muscle carnitine. Some research shows that it can actually take up to 24 weeks to peak. Also, if you've ever taken a pre-workout and your face or your arms start to tingle, that's probably the beta alanine. It's called paresthesias. It's harmless, it goes away, but it is a weird feeling. You can reduce that by splitting up the dose or using extended release forms. But to set an expectation, beta alanine won't suddenly make you stronger. You're probably not going to PR your deadlift, but you might crank out an extra couple reps, especially when it's moderate to high rep sets or you're pushing longer in a conditioning session. And that's why it's useful in sports with repeated high intensity efforts and short rest periods. So you're thinking things like ice hockey, combat sports, team training, that sort of thing. So creatine versus beta alanine, who wins? They do different jobs. That's a really silly question. It's apples and oranges. Creatine is best for short, powerful efforts with full or partial recovery, so lifting, sprinting, explosive sport work. Beta alanine is for higher intensity efforts that build up acid, so especially when you're doing back-to-back sets or shifts without full recovery. So if you're newer to supplementation and you want something with a faster payoff, start with creatine. You'll likely feel the benefits in a week or two, especially if you're training hard. But if your basics, your sleep, your training, and nutrition are solid and you want to squeeze out an extra few % more during tough training sessions or performance, that's where beta alanine gives you a little edge. They're not mutually exclusive. A lot of higher level athletes will actually stack both, but they do serve different roles, and timing of these matters as well when you're thinking about when and how long you got to be dosing it. In most sports and in the gym, small margins do add up. 1 extra rep, 1 extra shift, a few more watts or seconds of effort before fatigue kicks in. That's the difference a lot of times. But chasing performance doesn't mean jumping on every flashy new product. And these two actually have data behind them. I wouldn't put them in the flashy products category. But it's important that before you just throw them on, understand what they do, when they matter, That lets you use them intentionally instead of just guessing based on the label or some TikTok clip. So if you're building out your performance supplement stack and you want to start smart, go with creatine. It's cheap, it's safe, it's effective. If you're in a higher training phase or pushing through workouts that gas you early, consider adding beta alanine, but give it 8 to 12 weeks before you kind of expect anything. So if you want help customizing this to your sport, recovery timeline, or your goals, let's connect and chat. Go ahead and check out one of the links below. I'll help you walk through what's worth your time and what's not. And I'm also curious, how many of you have tried creatine, beta alanine, or both? Drop your experience in the comments below. Until next time, like, subscribe, hit the bell, do all the YouTube things. It's free for you and it helps me and I appreciate it. Super grateful. Until next time, I'm Dr. Mark.